Is Hugh Freeze's seat getting warmer? It shouldn't be scorching hot, but in my view, it needs to be heating up. That is Zac Blackerby, Locked On Auburn. The Tigers are 2-3 despite not having left the state of Alabama or playing at a stadium that isn't their own so far this year, Zach. Is Hugh Freeze's seat getting hotter? And if not, why not?
No, it's not getting hotter. And there are going to be some parts of Auburn that think, oh my goodness, something's going wrong. We're not immediately competing with Alabama and Georgia. We got to fire the head coach. No way. Hugh Freeze, to me, he's building the program the right way. Now, should Auburn be 2-3 right now? No, they need to be better than 2-3. And he's owned that, to be fair. Like, he has absolutely owned that. But with what he's done as far as acquiring talent through the high school ranks, no, I think you'd be crazy to fire him right now.
No, I don't think that he should have a hot seat. I'm saying it should be warming up. I don't think there's a world, barring like a 3-9 season, which I don't foresee, but
3-9's on the table right now. I mean, I think 4-8 is probably the most likely option.
That's
you had
crazy.
to project it out moving. I mean, yeah, but you look at it and it's like, okay, well, like where are the two wins? Auburn hosts Vandy. They host ULM. Like those are the two most likely wins.
Don't sleep on Vanderbilt now.
Sure. Especially with their quarterback, and he went in with a
Diego Pavia. Know the name. Diego Pavia. Know the name.
Yeah. He'll be known forever as like the Auburn Slayer if he does it with Vandy after doing it with New Mexico State a year ago. But Auburn, like we're going to talk about it in a second, but like they go to Georgia, yikes. Bye week, they go to Missouri, yikes. They go to Kentucky, maybe. I'm not buying it, but maybe. Then they return home. They host Vandy. They host ULM. They host Texas A&M, and then they go to Tuscaloosa for the Iron Bowl. Like, there's not 2 guaranteed wins on that schedule, unless you count Vandy. And some people will, and some people will kind of be a little more, cautious, like you just were. And I'm in that boat too right now. Like, the only guaranteed win on the schedule right now is ULM. But the frustrating thing about this, Spencer, is like, I don't think Auburn is this awful team. I just don't think they know how to win a football game. And unfortunately for Auburn.
Now, in the measuring of how good a football team is, does winning the game matter?
100%.
Okay, just checking.
But sure, and you can twist what I'm saying all you want. I don't care. But the fact of the matter is, like, Auburn and what they've done from a production standpoint this year, it does scream like, okay, this team has the ingredients to upset someone this year. Now, does Auburn want to be in that situation? No, they want to kind of be a team that's competing. And we all thought they could be 7-5 or 8-4 going into the season. But this is a team that, everybody talked about how great Oklahoma's defense was, and it's not a bad defense. They put up 480 yards. They just couldn't score. They couldn't score on the goal line. They missed field goals. And then, obviously the pick 6 at the end of the game by Peyton Thorne. But this isn't a team that is incapable of anything. Their defense has done remarkably well, considering how often their offense has turned the football over. And Auburn leads the country, at least going into last week, and they were pretty effective this week against Oklahoma, like in chunk plays. They're one of the best teams in all of college football in chunk plays and generating these big pieces of yardage. They can't stop turning the football over. And yeah, that is super, super important.
Yeah, they remind me of your favorite coach for me to discuss here on Locked On College Football, Jed Fish up at Washington, who somehow, by the way, are favored against Michigan this week. I know they're at home, but it's the same sort of reasoning is what the sportsbook are seeing, Zach, in that they can move the ball, they can do things on offense, they've got playmakers, and then they just get down and they're the cartoon manifestation of stepping on a rake and whacking yourself in the forehead over and over and over again. If you clean that up, it can improve. I think Freeze's seat has to be warming as you go towards 2025. I want to make myself clear. Barring a 2-10, maybe 3-9 season, which I don't think is likely. I think they get to 4 or 5 wins.
Even then, Spencer, and I want to push back because I'm sure, you and I talk all the time. Like, I'm sure you've made fun of me for pulling for a team and covering a team that's paying 3 coaches' salaries right now. And all of these folks outside of Auburn, what?
Well, what I was about to say is I don't do that enough, quite frankly.
Right. But I mean, there's a lot of people saying like, "Oh, Hugh Freeze better get hot, or they're going to run him out of Auburn." It's like the same people that are saying like, "Oh, they should start kind of pushing Hugh Freeze out the door," are the same people that make fun of Auburn for not giving a coach an actual shot. So, like to me, I think there's a little bit of a double standard sometimes when people talk about this situation in Auburn.
I think the buyout consideration is a substantial one. The same argument was made with Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. They won't pay him this amount just to go away. Well, then they did.
Little different.
Yeah. There's a difference. I'm just saying there's a line, and Hugh Freeze needs to do a little bit more to move himself away from that, or else the narrative will be going into 2025. Hey, you have to win 8-9 football games, or we're just not going to believe that you're capable of doing this.
Yeah, Hugh Freeze said that his tenure would be defined by the 2024 and 2025 recruiting classes. And he's like, if they don't execute and they don't come to fruition, it's like, I'm toast. Like, I'm not going to last here. And I think he's right. I think he's right in that. And you look at the collection of freshmen of the 2024 class that's playing football right now. I mean, it's exceptional. Caleb Harris, Malik Blockton, DeMarcus Riddick, true freshman, led Auburn in tackles against Oklahoma. I mean, and then obviously Cam Coleman is going to be a big part of the offense moving forward, as well
good.
as so is Malcolm Simmons, who's the guy who's not really being talked about. And so like they've got the collection of talent. The talent's just 18 years old. And I think there's also a little bit of a culture issue where these young guys want to come in and compete. And these older guys on the team, it's like, they're kind of used to this. They're kind of used to being around a 500 team. And you just kind of wonder what that looks like in the locker room sometimes.
Yeah, and with a quarterback like Peyton Thorne, who's so inexperienced in college football, as he grows with this young roster, I'm sure he will mature into a player that, is very different than what he has right now. That is intense, heavy sarcasm for everybody out there. I'm well aware of how old Peyton Thorne is. But I want to switch gears in the SEC here. Big game this week in College Station. Texas A&M, number 25 in the country, hosting number 9 Missouri. According to our friends at FanDuel, Zach, did you know that they're America's number 1 sports book? I just thought I'd toss that out there for everybody.
Do other sports books exist, Spencer? I'm unaware.
I don't know of any. I just know that FanDuel's number 1, and that's all that we really care about. But Texas A&M's -1.5 against Missouri. I'm intrigued by the Aggies here, Zach, because Missouri has shown cracks, and Texas A&M, as I predicted week 1, lost to Notre Dame. They haven't lost since. They have looked better. Now, they have had some back and forth at quarterback because of the injury to Connor Wegman, but Marcel Reed against Arkansas, that's not a bad Arkansas team. They're not great, but it's not a bad team. Texas A&M got it done in the neutral site. What's your kind of snapshot of this football game?
Yeah, to me, I think this is all Missouri. I think Missouri has played down to the level of competition so far this year. And look, this is a Missouri team whose offense hasn't lived up to the hype, both externally and internally. Eli Drinkwitz, the head coach, he was on our other college football show, College Football Smothered and Covered with Barrett Sallee last week. And he's like, look, I've been disappointed with the offense. I think there's an opportunity here for Mizzou to make a statement, or at least the opportunity is there. We'll see if they seize it or not, but they want to be respected. Missouri doesn't feel like they're respected, even with what they did a year ago, and they're about to be in a great spot to stack 2 seasons back to back and potentially make a run for the playoff. You got to win. You got to win these types of games. They were able to do it a year ago. Can you do it on Saturday? Spencer, I think they do.
I think it's a really exciting game because it's a prove-it moment for Missouri, like you said. But if Texas A&M wins, you're going to have the whole anti-Texas A&M contingent come out of the woods and say, oh my gosh, are these guys really that we're overrating and Missouri was overrated? Like the Texas A&M or the anti-Texas A&M crowd is suddenly going to convince you that Missouri is the worst college football team on the planet because they went to overtime with Vanderbilt, who's respectable, though not great. And if Texas A&M wins, suddenly they're looking up and you're like, that's a one-loss team that's ranked in the top 25 with a loss to Notre Dame. And then you look at that last regular season matchup of the year against Texas, and you're like, I don't know, maybe.
Is it fair to say the anti-Texas A&M crowd is just anybody who's not a Texas A&M fan? Is that fair to say?
If you're just talking about the population of Austin, Texas, yes, that is a fair thing to say. Zac Blackerby, Locked on Auburn. Always enjoy it, my man.
Love you long time.